Golden State Warriors dropped back-to-back games for the first time since 2015. Sound the alarm, question mark. There's a narrative going around ESPN and Fox Sports that they've immediately jumped off the Warriors within just this, after this game happened, and already the next story they had after that was, we'll be calling LeBron the GOAT soon. Which is just a rather drastic jump. I just kind of found it. I understand why. Obviously, it brings in attention. It's an interesting discussion to be had. But in the case of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, without Kevin Durant in the mix, his defense, as the one and only J.R. Jackson did have to point out on Wednesday. We did our Pluto show. I think it was actually on Thursdays when the clips went up. But they're going to feel a lot of loss without Kevin Durant, which is the most obvious statement in the world. But why I say this is because when you have the big four on the court like that, they're obviously one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NBA, and it's tough to beat them. But their loss of depth, which we talked about throughout the entire offseason when you sign someone like Kevin Durant to the team, is going to have its effect. Now, Curry and Thompson are shooters, which means they will go cold at times. It didn't really happen last year on the same nights, at the same time, and that's what made their season last year so unbelievable to me, was they never went cold during the regular season. It never happens like that. But Curry's shot chart for the last 3 straight games, I think it is, it's his worst 3-game three-point shooting stretch of his career.
Say that 5 times.
It's his worst 3-point shooting stretch of his career.
3.3.
3.3 shooting stretch of career. If we get the tweet though, I can show you exactly why. It's not like he's covered, is my point. 13%. 13%.
That's cold.
That's no bueno.
That's pretty cold.
Curry served cold. I
Yeah, very true. The first point, since I've not been here, by the way, oh yeah, I guess you found out that that guy Durant is out injured. That was an unfortunate thing.
Oh, did you hear?
Yeah, I heard about it.
I mean, you were in the band. What did you do?
There was just people crying on the streets. I was trying my best to help them.
What did you do there? Why did you hurt him like that?
I was just like, sorry, my bad.
Sorry, my bad, Kevin.
First of all, we need to first congratulate and mention the fact 146 games they went without losing back-to-back. That's pretty remarkable.
It's okay.
Right? No, that is, and far too many people are like, oh, I've lost back-to-back games. Here's why that's shite. Instead of like, oh, by the way, this is them just losing back-to-back games for the first time in 146 games. A remarkable accomplishment on its own. But the thing that I wanted to touch base here now is, last year, they went 73 games, right? They won 73 games without Kevin Durant. So they clearly can do it without Kevin Durant, there's no doubt. But how much is it going to hinder them this year, Jason? Because they freed up a lot of space to allow for Kevin Durant to come in. Last year, remember, they had Harrison Barnes, they had Bogut, they still
have guys like Livingston, Andre Iguodala, and Patrick McCall came in.
Yeah, I just think they had a stronger bench, and I think they freed up space in order to allow for a more rotational system that relied on shooters. This year, it's a little different with Kevin Durant.
Well, here's what was very obvious last year. At the end of the third quarter, the Warriors starters didn't have to play the fourth quarter at all, and that bench alone didn't even let up leads. So it wasn't like Steph Curry had to check back in with 7 minutes because they're like, shit, we just gave up 18 straight points. This year, when they take out all their starters in the fourth quarter, they are giving up some of those 20-point leads, and it's a lot closer than it really should be, and they've had to play them some more minutes. I guess comes down to this. This is more normal. What we saw last year was so abnormal for any shooting season ever. It's why when people say, oh, there he is, the unanimous MVP, what you saw from Steph Curry last year likely never will happen again. Yeah. It was the greatest shooting season in the history of the sport, and it will probably never be topped. If the only people that would be able to do it are the ones you're looking at playing right now, and that's Curry and Thompson. So you have to bring this down to earth. And if this is what down to earth Curry is like, not this 3-game shooting stretch, but this season, could we please at least acknowledge the fact that he's still one of the 20 to 25 best players in the NBA, and at any point could drop 10 threes on you and you're blown out of the water. So a lot of this is gonna come down to, like, go back to your roots, play like you did last season with that small ball lineup with Draymond, with Curry, with Thompson, plug Iguodala in there when you need him, and I'm missing one, Zaza Pachulia. But regardless, you have to have Zaza in that lineup to kind of clog the paint, even though he's pretty bad at doing that too. So is there reason to be worried if you're a Warriors fan? There actually is, and I say that because the Spurs are gunning for the 1 seed. And for one, you don't, if let's say if the Warriors and the Spurs swap, right? That means and the Thunder stay the 7th seed. You don't want to play the Thunder. You don't want that narrative because that's an exhausting narrative. Regardless what players think when it comes down to like the media doesn't matter, the media doesn't have any effect. Of course it does. Of course it has an effect.
You don't think they want to play the Thunder? They've been banging on them non-stop this season.
They probably do, but compared to playing the, I don't know, I think they'd rather play, sorry Dan, the Clippers, who they've had like 10 or 11 straight wins against, and other teams like the Jazz or the Grizzlies. I think they'd rather play teams like that because it's more of a foregone conclusion. The Thunder is, like I said, an exhausting narrative for them. Kevin Durant has to answer questions that he doesn't want to answer, and he's bad with the media like he's always been. And I don't mean that as a knock on Kevin Durant, just mean it that the media asks him stupid questions a lot of the time, and also he's pretty shy when it comes to...
Well, he wouldn't be much needed. Well, he probably would be needed for more questions now because he wouldn't be due to his injury. So
I think he'd be back for that season. He'll be back. He'll be back for the playoffs. I mean, he'll be reevaluated in 4 weeks, but still, we're still 6 weeks, 5 weeks away from the season ending, and still a couple days off before game one.
Yeah, and so I think that the thing that's going to worry the Golden State Warriors more so when you look at this is that last year both Klay Thompson and Steph Curry went through cold patches, but it was rare that they went through them both at the exact same time. And when you look at it last night, they both missed 8 of their three-point attempts in the fourth quarter against Chicago, right? Which was a problem on its own, but their shooting percentage overall for both of them in the last 3 games, it's a testament to the fact that they lost their first consecutive games in 146 games, because when one of them was off, the other one usually picked up the slack, and they had a great overall depth. So when you have both of them going out without, especially with Kevin Durant not being in the mix, that's where it's a problem, because without Kevin Durant in there, having that alternative means to try and find a shot in a world-class player, you're going back to relying on your three-point shooters, and you're going back, not as if they moved away from it, but more so relying on it than having the versatility of one of the best players in the league.
Two-way players in the league. Yeah. Well, Warriors fans, sound the alarm. Comment below, like, favorite, and subscribe. Let us know what you think. Is this anything to worry about? I think it's something to slightly worry about. And we'll see you next time.